Guy Woodward, head groundsman at Warwick Racecourse, now joins us on Turf Business TV. Guy, thanks for joining us today. I know you're kind of right off the back of some racing and a busy time of year for you.
Yes, come to the end of our season. They do come quick and fast now. Everything's starting to grow a bit. Everything needs watering a bit.
So your route into the job you got now, you didn't start out in equestrian or horse racing. How did you first get into turf care full stop then?
Grew up, my father was a groundsman. Grew up on a sports ground in Osterley. It's what I wanted to do. I was always out there helping him. And it just progressed from there, really. Worked for him, then got my own ground across the road. And then I've moved around the country doing various jobs.
So the first ground that you got that was your own, was that multi-use, multi-purpose?
It's cricket, football and rugby.
Okay, so diverse. You obviously got a good grounding in different skills there.
Yeah. Cricket was what I grew up on. That was my dad's passion. So it was a lovely surface to work on. Is a lovely surface to work on. Slightly different to what I work on now. Just a bit.
The other extreme, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah, completely, yeah.
I think half of the job of cricket is trying to stop the grass growing, isn't it, on the wicket?
Seems to be the way, yeah.
After that first ground of your own, where did your career next take you?
Ended up moving to Devon, getting married, and working for Devon County down there. We went through the competitive tendering period, so Devon County lost the contract. Brophy's won the contract, so I worked for them for 5 years, doing all the South Devon schools from Torbay to South Hams, looking after them. And then they lost the contract, went to someone else, blah, 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 but ended up at Dartmouth Naval College.
That's an interesting one.
It was a cracking one. It was a contract again, and the contractor I was working for then, landscaping and grounds maintenance, they had it and moved me over there. It was a lovely place, privileged to work there.
And what sort of surfaces were you looking after there?
Looked after the rugby, the football, clay pigeon shooting. They had an all-weather artificial pitch as well that we had to keep clean. They have a golf course. We just maintained the fairways and stuff like that and the trees and kept the place tidy.
And was the next stop for you then horse racing?
Yes, when it was, contract was coming up again, and these contracts were coming up every 2 years, and you got a family, you needed something more secure. So I've always been a member of the IOG, GMA as it is now, just got the magazine, and there's an advert in there for Sandown Park for the assistant, so I went for the job and ended up back in London. Okay,
so back to London. How long were you at Sandown?
I was at Sandown for 2 years, and I worked for the Jockey Club. Jockey Club, I have a number of race courses, and Nottingham came up. So I was the assistant at Sandown, so I went for the interview, luckily got the job, and started my time as head groundsman in racing.
Okay, so Nottingham, is that predominantly national hunt, or is it flat? What is it?
Flat. Nottingham's just flat.
And is it just turf, or have you got all weather there as well?
No, just turf.
That kind of got you the bug for horse racing, did it, from Sandown and then there, or was it just that's how it landed?
That's how it landed. And Nottingham was a great learning curve for me, working with a very, very good clerk of the course. I sort of cut my teeth there and then moved on and managed to prove what I'd learned, and the skills I've got. Went from Nottingham to Great Yarmouth, lovely seaside track. It's on sand, quite difficult to maintain an awful lot of the water. Very, very dry place, but a beautiful course. And then from there up to Newcastle.
Okay, and have all of those been national hunt, or is Yarmouth flat as well? Because I guess that's a summer course, is it?
Yeah, Yarmouth's flat. Yarmouth's very flat. Newcastle was a joint course, so the jumps and the flats.
And when did you end up where you are now, Warwick, then?
2016, I came here. So I've been here 5 years now, yeah.
When you turned up there, what was the brief?
Brief was we just stopped flat racing. So there was a large area of the flat course where the courses were at different levels.
Right.
So the flat course was being brought up to the same level as the jump course in a part just past the grandstands.
Right.
We had contractors in there getting that all level. We didn't race on that for a year, obviously letting it settle down and all that. But the brief was to improve what we had. This is a small course that punches above its weight. We have a lot of class horses here that go on to the Cheltenhams, to the Aintrees and stuff. And it's now a very well respected course.
So you have got some pretty hefty beasts running across your turf. That, I'm sure, means that you've got to give a bit more attention to certain processes than others. What's your kind of main regime between racing then?
Between racing, it's aeration and repair. Try to stay off with rollers as much as possible, because you just cap it over. So as often as I can, if I've got a roller, I've got a roller to go on the front of the tractor. I'll have a slitter behind, so we're always aerating, or I get on with a Bertie drain. And then we have 20 blokes out there soiling, filling the divots with 60-40 at the moment with a compost mix, grass seed in it, just filling the holes.
Are you using a special equestrian mix for grass, or have you got your own kind of thing that you like to do?
I've gone on to the tetraploids because we're winter course. We want as much growth as we can get early and late, and the tetraploid is giving me that. So
other than tetraploids, is there anything else that you're doing differently to what you would have done elsewhere, because you've got such high wear, I guess, on certain areas? Yeah,
every track I've been to has been different in so many ways. I came here having worked successfully at Newcastle and thinking I could reproduce what I did up in Newcastle here, and it just didn't work. I found out after 2 meetings the repair regime I had up there needed completely different to down here. So every course I've been to, it's slightly different, just tweaking it. But we can put on like 60 ton of soil after a meeting, after a heavy meeting with lots of runners, And
you're typically running and repairing in probably the worst time of year to get actual growth. How do you manage that? How do you get the stuff to grow back in?
Where we are here, it's the climate's pretty good. The growth starts early. We had germination through November. We've got germination in February. Just started, but it's there. We're very lucky, with the climate we have here. I've certainly been in much colder and harder places.
So, are you doing anything to help that germination?
I don't pre-germinate the seed. We get the seed down, we get it in the soil. We have used growth sheets in the past and stuff like that, but it's just because we move our running lines so often, it does get a chance to come along. I don't have to try and force it so it's there in a week and looking lovely.
And I guess within certain meetings, you've got different lines for different courses for hurdles and jumps, yeah?
During the depths of winter, we use our outer hurdle course, which was the old flat course.
Right.
And we got quite a few movements there, so they're on a different line. The line we raced on in September and October, that gets time to recover. We're just going back onto that inner line now because we're going to be watering. We're watering with Briggs boom irrigation systems, and they can stretch. Our ones are 30 metre wide, so you've got to be able to water where you're racing.
Sure.
So when we're in heavy ground, we don't have to worry. So we can send the hurdlers out much wider.
Going is something that is a term that is well known in racing, and normally my only time I hear it is when I'm having a bet on the Grand National. How much importance is put on you to get the going to the what's expected?
It's massive, isn't it? The going for us for jumping, and coming out of a wet season, the ground now isn't as level as you'd like it to be, although you try your best, and can be bare in places. So you need the ground to be safe. So we'll be watering for good soft ground from now on and try and maintain that as best we can. In May, it's very difficult, but by that time, we've got a lot of grass growth. Everything's come on nicely, so there's a bit more protection for the horse. But the going is if we didn't get the going right, we wouldn't have the runners.
Okay, and what are you looking to achieve in terms of the going?
When we're managing it, when we're watering it, we want good soft.
So you're never going to race on anything worse than good to soft, I guess, in terms of hardness and firmness. Yeah.
Oh no, we quite often during the winter will be racing on heavy. All the flooding that everywhere had.
Yeah.
We didn't lose a meeting. I think we were the only jump course not to lose a meeting this season. So our ground took a pounding. There were a lot of horses out there wanting to run. They were happy to come here and run, and the course paid the price for it.
So you're always trying to work to a standard. You're not trying to achieve a different standard for different races or anything like that, or different meetings.
No. May and September, it's difficult times if you've had a long dry period. But we've got a reservoir. We've got the two irrigators going around. We will put on as much as we physically can. Sometimes if you've got an evening meeting, you're stuffed. You put a little bit on in the morning, but to put 10 mil on our course with two irrigators is 10 plus hours.
Right. Okay.
And we've got a reservoir, but that's not bottomless. We have drained it in the past.
So I guess putting a full-blown irrigation system into something like that is just not cost effective.
If you've got the water, there's some areas where I'd love to have a pop-up system on narrower areas, round bends and stuff like that. That would be lovely to have, top of my wish list. But just not, it's for a small course like us, that's not practical. So we've got the brigs we've got. They're expensive bits of kit, and they do a lovely job. But it's slow, yeah, and you've got to try and maintain everything, keep everything the same.
And what are the key differences between flat and jump racing? Because I'm sure there must be some.
Yeah, one of them had jumps, one of them done.
I mean, in terms of the turf and the care of it.
Yeah. From my point of view, we winter race for our jump season. Flat on turf is through the summer, so they're racing on good to firm ground. The horses are smaller feet. Well, certainly seem to be. So they can race on quicker ground. Repairs a lot easier, and as you're repairing, it's recovering itself because of the time of year. Whereas our lot, they just jump over the fences and make big holes.
Leave it to you to sort out for next time.
The fences as well, the hurdles. We can lose 20 hurdles in a meeting, and they've got to be taken back to the shed, repaired, and put back out. And the fences take a hammer in as well. They've all got to be redressed, redone.
That's a skill in itself, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, certainly is. Certainly is.
When you look at developments and how the job and maintaining the turf for racecourses has developed over the last few years, has it developed, or is it pretty much still you're using the same skills and the basic skills that you learned 20 years ago, say?
I think it's come on leaps and bounds. With the education of the ground staff, to put a course back, a lot of places it would just be rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled, and you got zero root growth, thatch, you get all sorts, but now aeration is the main thing. Getting the thatch out. We got big ironbock harrows or opicos, so I think groundsmanship in racing over the 20 plus years I've been in has moved on leaps and bounds.
And where do you see the next developments coming?
I'd love to know that the soils are getting better. We now, I personally use Mansfields, and at the moment I've got a 60-40 going on with compost mix. I think the soils will come on, no end from where I started at Sandown as well. The seed development is always ongoing. It's always getting better. The fertilizers are getting better. Obviously now we're struggling with pests, with chafer grubs and stuff like that. That's becoming a huge issue. And fortunately we don't suffer here, but other courses they do, and the damage caused by the beetles is dreadful. So it'd be nice to see something come onto the market, something somehow.
Has anybody looked at using hybrid turf, in terms of racing, or is it just not going to be safe enough?
I personally don't think it would work. I think, there's got to be the give in the ground. That's the thing. They've done, obviously they race on sand and artificial. poly tracks,
Yeah.
but there's got to be that give in the ground, and I feel with the hybrids, with the sown in and all that, I don't think it would be far too hard for the horses.
Things like grow lights, is that something anybody's investigated or you've considered?
I have heard that they've been used in, I think Cheltenham used them one year on the parade rings to try and improve the parade ring. I think they've been looked at on small areas, but the course is huge.
Yeah.
And you see the football pitches where they'll come up and slowly go. Yeah, it just wouldn't be practical on here. There's no way we could do it. I think on small areas, if you had a smaller course such as Fakenham, which is a mile round, less fences, it'd be nice to give it a go on the takeoff and landings to try and get them to recover on the fences. But practically, I can't see how. Certainly, the small courses could do it.
GMA ran an initiative back in early March, Grounds Week. I think we've got an industry that needs its profile lifting in terms of how people perceive it from outside the industry. How do you think the horse racing groundsman and head groundsman is perceived, one, within your sector of the industry, and two, by the more general population?
Inside the industry, people know how important our job is. They know, we're out there, we're preparing it, we're making it safe for their horses to come here. They appreciate what we do. Outside of horse racing, I think people think, we're just filling holes and pushing mowers around and watering cans. From the background I had, from cricket up to racing, the maintenance is very similar. It's aeration, it's thatch control, it's feeding, it's irrigation. We just do it on a much bigger scale. I still think that groundsmen, from completely outside, people just think all we do is cut grass.
Sometimes you water it.
Sometimes we water it, but I just, it's an industry. It's an industry I love, but salaries are not as they should be. For the skills we've got, the training we've got. On a race day, I'm out there. I'm responsible for the health and safety of the jockeys, the horses, all the staff I've got out there. Massive responsibility. If it goes wrong, if there's a tragedy out there, then that's my neck on the block. But there's the money doesn't get paid. There isn't that appreciation in the salary. And for us to try and encourage people into our industry, I'll babble on a bit. We've recently had two really good lads, young lads, and they could have gone on to be good head groundsmen. And they've gone on to football grounds, Leicester and Aston Villa. And they love the race courses. They love the industry. They still come back and see us. But the money's not there. And then when we're advertising to get new people in, the salary is just, you're not going to tempt anyone in. I can't see, we didn't interview any young people for the job. It's older people who've got an interest in horses and horse racing. It needs a shake-up.
How does the industry get to the point where that salary level matches the skills? What can people do? How do we attack it?
I'd love to say, right, that's it. We're working to rule 40-hour week, nothing above, or we put our tools down and walk away. But I grew up in this industry. I did that. I'd look out the window, grass needs cutting, everything's conditions are right. You get out there and you do it.
Yeah.
We also, I don't know whether we need a figurehead or something more than a GMA or bigger. It's somehow, there's got to be the perception, maybe change the perception of what a groundsman does, the training we have to go through, the skill set we have, and the responsibilities we have. How do we get that out there?
Well, I certainly think the GMA initiative Grounds Week is trying to attack that. I know they've just announced that it's on again for next March in 2022. isn't a different approach to say each different sector, so horse racing, for instance, should, you've got a certain set of criteria there where the safety of jockeys and the safety of some pretty valuable livestock is paramount. Yeah. There's a whole big industry that relies on that around gambling. Surely, somewhere in there, somebody needs to be pointing out to the powers that be that without this job being done professionally, everything else you're doing is a false economy. Yeah, because you risk losing racing, or probably the worst case scenario, some kind of tragedy because somebody's not been, up to doing the job because we can't attract the right kind of people, or you just can't attract people, so you're running on, short staff.
That's it. I see us getting to a point where there just won't be the head groundsman. When I became a head groundsman, there were a group of similar ages all coming through, all getting that role as head groundsman. I haven't seen the youngsters coming through anymore. The industry does need to shake itself up. How we go about it, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe it comes to people like me, bit older, bit less to lose, I suppose, going out there and upsetting a few people, just speaking a few truths.
Often robots and the whole kind of automaton. We'll do that again. Sorry, told you I'd do a fluff just to make you feel better. Often robots are looked at some kind of threat, as is the whole kind of automation in terms of robot mowers and automated mowers. Some people have an opinion that actually what you can do there is you can then invest more in the guys that are there and you get more skilled labour. How do you view robots in horse racing? Is it something that you could see the courses being mowed by a robot in the future, or do you think there needs to be a bit more human intervention?
I think certainly for Warwick is on common land, so we have a massive a human population out there, people out there. If you had anything that wasn't manned, we've had kids swinging on irrigators, dogs running in front of mowers, and you've got to have that physical presence to make sure things are done safely.
Right.
In racing, once again, as I say, it's such a big, vast area. With so many different bits in the middle. Some have football pitches, some have golf courses, some have common land. I'd love to watch the progression on football, on stadiums where it can be controlled. I think where the big open spaces, I can't see it coming into the shed. It's going to be a lot. It's got to come on a long way. You can't, if you set your mower and GPS it and all that, you've still got the public, the unknown factor, out there that it doesn't bear thinking about, really.
Guy, you seem to have worked on pretty much every surface applicable. I think the only one that we worked out that you may not have done is polo. Yeah. For you, ambitions-wise, what's left? What do you see yourself doing, and what do you want to achieve?
I love working in the smaller courses. It's just there's less pressure on the sales teams, and stuff like that. I'm happy. I'm happy at Warwick now. If another small course, maybe up north, came on and asked me to go up, I'd consider that. I think I'll stay in racing. I do enjoy the people. It's in every aspect of the sport I've worked in. The people in racing are the most appreciative of what we do. Say I've done club football, club rugby, club cricket, schools, local authority and all that, but in racing they actually care. They talk to you. They want to know what you do. They're interested in what you do, and they appreciate what you do. So I'm happy to stay in racing.
Not quite backing it up with a salary yet, though.
That's unfortunately never going to be the one.
Appreciation and recognition is a big part of anybody's career or life, and you've been pretty successful, and you picked up, I think, quite a handful of awards down the years. 3 where you are currently and a couple elsewhere. including the IOG Best Racecourse, now GMA obviously, and 3 Racing Body Awards. How did that make you and the team feel?
Oh, the IOG one for me was the one I really wanted, having been a member since I was 18. And my father was, one of the very early members. That one meant so much to me. The other ones, the lads had a good time. We all went out and had a very good time on it. I'm very proud of it. Very proud. Small little course, punching above our weight. It's a cracking thing to do.
Why do you think you won them? Okay, let's look at the IOG one then. What put you head and shoulders, above some other people in that respect?
So since we've been here, we've been with the levelling of the ground. We just produce very good ground. We also have a chute for the old flat that we put in schooling fences so local trainers can come, because I've got irrigation down there, which they won't have on any of theirs. They can come and school over fences during the summer. That certainly helps us get recognition and awards. More work, but it keeps us busy.
And I guess it's a revenue stream, is it?
It barely covers its own costs. We're not running it to make money. We're running it for the benefit of racing. So what we get for all the horses pays for the birch, pays for the grass seed. But you get to see the trainers and the jockeys on a more human scale when they come to a race day. That's their job. That's they haven't got time for a idle chat and stuff like that. It's important to them. But when they come to school, they've got more time for you, and you can get on, have a nice chat and get to know people better. So it's something I'm personally very proud of, having done that.
As an industry or as a sector, is the equestrian or the racing sector environmentally aware? Is it less so, more so? Is sustainability something you're really looking at, or is it let's just get the racing on?
Ooh, that's a difficult question. We in the jockey club, recycle as much as we can. We went away from the throwaway plastics to recyclable plastics for glasses and cups and stuff like that. And it's something that I say the jockey club was striving to do. Cut down our waste, cut down our CO2. I'm still waiting on and following the progression of the battery operated strimmers, hedge cutters, buggies. We use the buggies a lot, but I don't think they're not just quite rugged enough yet.
Okay.
But we are, it's something that we do talk about. We are looking and we're following how they are coming along in the industry. And I think it's not going to be long before, we will be plugging stuff in at night and then going around quietly in the morning.
And from your point of view, what's the thing that you love most about your job?
Satisfaction of a good day's racing. After racing, rather than I don't go to a bar or anything like that. I'll get on the tractor and I'll be out there working on the track to get it ready for the next meeting. But there's no pressure on you. You can sit there, you can just enjoy it driving around. It's making sure everyone's had a good day. Everything's gone home safely. Jockeys, trainers all congratulate you on the ground and thank you for the ground. And the pressure's off at that point. You can put your feet up for 12 hours. just enjoy the moment until it all starts all over again.
We've spoken about there what you love about the industry, your favourite bit. What do you think is, the one thing that you think is a problem or should be looked at for the industry as a whole?
I think we need to address groundsmen that live on site in tied accommodation, whether it's education or help, that when they get to the end of their working life, they've got something somewhere to go to. There is provision made. It's you live in your little house, you keep on, and then suddenly at the end of the day, they need it for someone else. You could have worked and lived on the site for 20, 30 years. You've got all your friends and family there. In Warwick, it's a very expensive place to live. So reality for me, when I retire here, is to have to move away from the area, leaving everyone we know. And I'm sure that's the same for many people in our industry. The tide accommodation is still there. It is seen as or talked about as a perk, but realistically, you are on call 24/7.
It's not unique to racing either. I think it's certainly fairly common in golf and other areas of the industry. I'm not aware of. I assume it's thought of as part of the package, so it's kind of discounts your salary a little bit because you're getting the accommodation. So it's not leaving you a surplus to, buy or put money by for your old age.
No, not really. No. And when you're younger and you're in a situation, you don't think like that, do you? You're not thinking ahead.
No.
So got a bit. You'd like to get away on a holiday or invest in motor transport or something, or have a hobby.
Yeah.
And you're not thinking. It's only when you get to your mid to late 50s you start thinking, "Blooming hell, what's going to happen now?"
To be honest with you, Guy, I'm fairly ignorant on what happens around that, and I think that's a whole kind of area that probably warrants a little bit further investigation. It's certainly something I'll pick up on here editorially, and we'll possibly run a feature on that in our careers section. What happens afterwards? How do you prepare for that? Maybe employers would say, well, that's your responsibility, but if you're not given the salary to be able to do that, what do you do?
Yeah, so I've all bar 7 years of my life I've been in tied accommodation, but no one has ever said to me, Guy, you need to be thinking about the future. You've got to sort yourself out at home or something.
You've obviously been thinking about it. Have you got a plan?
I fortunately, because of my father, his situation, I have bought a property. Well, I'm paying a mortgage. I managed to get that. I've got a little place in Norfolk, which is an investment for me. But like I said, I was talking for groundsmen in general.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot who haven't, and I know there's plenty in racing that haven't.
Guy, it's been absolutely fascinating talking to you. You're obviously doing a grand job there. Better people than me have recognised that with awards. I'm sure it's a team effort, and it's not just solely down to you. You might tell me different. I don't know. But we wish you the best over what's left of this season, and hopefully you get a bit of fair weather so you can get the course where you want it to through the summer months and ready for next season.
Lovely. Thank you very much.